beautiful peers. My name is Hannah Erdman, and today I'm going to try to convince you not to cry every time you hear the words world history. Now today we will be discussing Confucianism, Daoism, and legalism. So let's begin. Okay, thank you. Alright, now Confucianism all began with one famous philosopher and teacher, Confucius. But we just call him Confucius in English because we were so difficult like that.
Basically, the philosophy's main objective was to promote a good government that filled official positions with individuals that were both well-educated and extraordinarily conscientious. Let's dig deeper and dive into Hannah's thoughts.
Thanks, girl. Confucius was born into an aristocratic family in the state of Lu in northern China in 551 BCE. He was the first Chinese thinker who addressed the political problems and social order of the Zhou dynasty. Also known as Master Philosopher Kong, his disciples worshipped his beliefs. He sought out after an influential post in the state of Lu, but unfortunately he acted like a complete grumpy old man and didn't compromise with his beliefs, and insisted on observing principles that clashed with the state policy. Therefore, later on in life, he decided to embark on a journey for a more prestigious appointment. He was disappointed again because nobody wanted to accept him. I know the feeling. Finally, he came back to the state of Lu in 484 BCE and died 5 years later, like we said, as a grumpy old grouch. Confucius' disciples wrote 4 books after his death called Great Learning, The Doctrine of the Mean, The Mencius, and The Analects. Before, the 3 philosophies of Ren, Li, and Zhao. Now, Ren is all about pretty much being respectful, diligent, loyal, and courteous. So a really, really good human being, inside and out. Li is a sense of propriety, which calls for individuals to be courteous while showing special respect to elders and superiors. For the last one, Zhao, is all about the significance of family. 3 of these ideas should be followed even by us today because, they all pretty much teach us how to be great human beings. That is a really great question. Why is Confucianism important? Why does it impact China? Well, I can tell you this. As a student, I'd probably answer with the usual, it doesn't matter, I'm not going to be studying this in college, I'm not going to be a historian or a world history teacher. Yeah, that's what I would say as a student, and then you gotta think. Alright, so how does it impact China? Think back to when it first began, and, before current era, in the BCE times. Confucianism pretty much built China. Many of the dynasties we know today used the Confucian philosophies, their education values, for pretty much their core of their government, for their living styles. You don't see a lot of the dynasties using Daoism. You don't see a lot of them using legalism. Some did, but those either usually failed or were run over very quickly. So that's kind of what I'm saying to you is that's kind of why it was important in the beginning. But now let's think about in the future. Let's go ahead a couple centuries. Think about the plague, the bubonic plague. It did hit China. Also, the Mongols did rule over China for quite some time. As we know now, China was able to get rid of the Mongols, get rid of the plague, and start fresh over. And guess what philosophy they used to do that? Confucianism. So the next time you're asking, why do I have to learn this? It's because it is important. It made China what it is today. Without some of these philosophies, China could have been completely different. You don't know. And that is my answer to you, my friend. That is why it's important.
About later on. Next is Daoism. They're basically known as the world's first hippies, and they have the doctrine of Wu Wei, which basically means simple life at harmony with nature. And they're like the yin and yang, hot and cold. I love them. So Laozi was supposedly the founder of this philosophy, but he's not even known as a real person. And Cheng Zhu was another main figure, and he had a book based about him, and it was also named after him. The beliefs and values of Daoism basically included building temples to worship deities and high up officials of the philosophy. It promoted a life of harmony with nature, spiritual immortality, being virtuous, and self-development. They had no controlling government. They followed Tao, the way. And their impact on China was basically, they were a major religion indigenous to China, and they acted as a counterbalance during the time of Confucianism, which was important because the focus before that had been solely on Confucianism and nothing else. Next is legalism. During the period of the Warring States, legalism returned order to China. And that was very important because none of the other philosophies could do that before. So there's two important people, Shang Yang and Han Faizi, and Shang Yang was a chief minister to the Duke of Qin state in western China, and Han Faizi, most systematic of legalist theorists, that was a student of the Confucian scholar Zunzi. Legalist teachings, legalism promoted a practical and ruthlessly efficient approach to statecraft. They didn't concern themselves with ethics, morality, or propriety, and didn't really care about the principles guiding the world, and all of their energy went towards expanding the state and strengthening it. Their impact on China was that they helped to form a centralized state in China and helped to strengthen the state with its strict enforcement of rules.